I still remember the coldness of that morning, the way the silence between me and Ryan felt louder than the coffee pot sputtering in the kitchen. We had just received the final notice from the bank. Foreclosure was no longer a threat. It was a promise. Our home, our children's only sense of stability, was hanging by a thread. Ryan hadn't found another job since his company downsized, and despite his years of loyalty, he was let go without much more than a handshake and, sorry, times are tough. What happened next? I never imagined I'd be the kind of woman capable of it. But when you're cornered by desperation, the unthinkable starts to feel like the only option. Yes, I did it. I crossed the line. For the man I love. For the family I was terrified of losing. Not because I wanted to, but I thought it would save us, save our home, save his job, save our marriage. But in trying to save everything, I lost everything. Hi LC community, my name is Liv Morgan, but my husband calls me Liv. I'm 36, born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, now living in Charlotte, North Carolina with my husband and 2 children. I'm a freelance copy editor, nothing glamorous, but I take pride in it. I work odd hours, mostly at night, editing blog posts, resumes, college essays, even ghostwriting papers for spoiled rich kids just to scrape together gas money. My husband, Ryan Morgan, is 41. He's smart, reliable, and one of the hardest working men I've ever known. He was with a mid-sized tech firm here in Charlotte for almost 6 years. He gave them everything. Late nights, weekends, even sacrificed vacations to stay on top of deadlines. But when the company downsized earlier this year, they cut him loose like he was just another number. It hit us hard. 3 months behind on the mortgage. Credit cards maxed out, heating bill is past due, and 2 kids who didn't deserve to feel the tension crawling through our walls like cold air. I picked up extra work. Worked until my eyes hurt and my fingers cramped. I took on jobs I swore I'd never do, editing 20-page philosophy papers for entitled college seniors who couldn't spell their own names. But no matter how many hours I logged in, it still wasn't enough. And that's what led me to David Sinclair, Ryan's former boss, a polished man in his early 40s, charming, rich, and powerful in all the ways that intimidated and disgusted me. I never trusted him, but I knew he liked me. Too much. He always had this smug way of looking at me when we'd run into each other at company events. So I did something I never told Ryan about. I reached out, I emailed David and asked to meet. I wanted to plead for my husband, tell him how much Ryan had given to that company, that he didn't deserve to be tossed aside like that. He agreed to meet. But what he offered me that night at dinner, it was something no woman should ever have to weigh against her dignity. I sat across from David Sinclair, my hands trembling beneath the table, hidden in my lap. I had been staring at my untouched glass of wine for 5 full minutes. One night. That's what he said. That's all it would take for him to make a call. For Ryan to walk back into his office, reinstated with full benefits, as if nothing had happened. One night with David Sinclair. One night in exchange for my husband's career. I wanted to run. I wanted to laugh in his face, throw my drink at him, and storm out of that restaurant with my dignity intact. But then I thought about Ryan sitting at home, drowning in rejection letters, gripping his whiskey glass, believing he had failed us. I thought about the final notice on our mortgage. The unpaid credit card bills are stacking up in the kitchen drawer. The fear in my children's eyes when they heard us arguing behind closed doors. "You don't have to decide now," David said smoothly, swirling his drink like he hadn't just put the biggest decision of my life on the table. "Take your time." His voice was calm, patient, like he knew how this would end, like he knew I didn't have a choice. "Before I go any further, I just need you to please hit the like button and share this true life story with at least one friend. It will enable the YouTube algorithm to push my story to reach the next possible person out there to avoid making the same mistake I made. So please, kindly hit the like button as I tell you my story." I barely remember leaving the restaurant. I got into my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, my breath coming in short gasps. What was I supposed to do? There was no one I could talk to. Ryan would never forgive me if he found out I even entertained this thought. But what would he do if we lost everything? I I pulled out my phone and checked our bank account balance. $642. That was it. Enough for one more week of groceries. Maybe. I dropped my forehead against the steering wheel, tears stinging my eyes. I never imagined my life would come to this. I barely spoke when I got home. Ryan was in the living room, still wearing the same clothes from this morning, his laptop open in front of him, another job board flashing on the screen. "You okay?" he asked, rubbing his face, looking exhausted. "Yeah," I said, forcing a smile. "Just tired." He sighed, shutting his laptop. "I've sent out 10 applications today. No responses yet, but I have a call with a recruiter tomorrow." I nodded, pretending to be hopeful. "We'll get through this, Liv," he said, standing and pressing a kiss to my forehead. His lips were warm, familiar, safe. Did I really just consider betraying him? I wrapped my arms around him and closed my eyes. "I love you," I whispered. "I love you too." I held on to him tighter. Maybe this would all work out. Maybe Ryan would find a new job on his own. Maybe I wouldn't have to make this decision. Maybe... The next morning, I was making coffee when my phone buzzed. It was David Sinclair. I stared at the screen, my heart hammering. I shouldn't answer. I should block his number and pretend last night never happened. But instead I picked up. "Olivia." His voice was smooth, confident. "Have you made a decision?" I swallowed hard. I can't do this." There was silence. "Are you sure?" I clenched my jaw. "Yes." David sighed as if he was disappointed but not surprised. "I understand," he said finally. "But just so you know, I spoke to some people last night. Ryan's name is going around, and let's just say it's not in a good way." My blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" "Rumors, Olivia. The corporate world is small. People talk. No one wants to hire a man who couldn't keep his job in the first place." I felt sick. "You're lying." "Am I?" David chuckled softly. "I was trying to help, but I suppose it's out of my hands now." He was toying with me, manipulating me, but what if he was telling the truth? What if this wasn't just about Ryan losing one job? What if his entire career was ruined? David exhaled, his voice turning almost sympathetic. "I'll be at the Westwood Hotel tonight. Room 812. No pressure, of course." The line went dead. That night, Ryan sat at the dinner table, staring at the phone screen in his hands, his brows furrowed. "What's wrong?" I asked, heart already racing. "I just got a rejection from a company that was interested last week. They told me they filled the position, but I don't believe them. Something's off." I clenched my fists under the table. David had done this. He was blacklisting Ryan. "I don't know what to do, Liv." Ryan exhaled, rubbing his forehead. "I'm running out of options." I stared at him. The man who loved me, the man who trusted me. And I made a choice. A terrible, irrevocable choice. I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "I have to run out for a bit," I said quickly, grabbing my purse. Ryan blinked. "Now? Where are you going?" "Just meeting a friend." I didn't wait for him to ask anything else. I didn't wait to change my mind. I grabbed my keys, I walked out of the house, and I drove to the Westwood Hotel. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I could turn around right now. I could go home, sit back at the dinner table with Ryan, and pretend none of this ever happened. I could lie, tell myself that we'd figure it out, that Ryan would find another job, that everything would be okay. But deep down, I knew the truth. Ryan was running out of time. We were running out of time. And David Sinclair had made sure of that. The Westwood Hotel. The lobby was too bright, too elegant, too clean. I felt out of place the second I walked in. David had texted me his room number earlier, saying, "Room 812. Just take the elevator up. No need to check in." Like he had done this before. Like he had planned every second of this night. I hesitated in front of the elevator, staring at the glowing call button. This was my last chance to leave. My last chance to walk away before I did something I could never undo. And then, like I wasn't even in control of my own body anymore, I pressed the button. The door to room 812 opened before I could even knock. David leaned against the doorframe, his sharp suit jacket gone, his tie loosened, his sleeves rolled up. He looked relaxed, in control, like he had already won. "You came," he said, his lips curling into a small smile. I should have turned and left. I should have told him to go to hell. Instead, I stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind me. I told myself this wasn't cheating. Cheating was betrayal. Cheating was falling in love with someone else. Cheating was selfish. This was for Ryan, for our kids, for our life. If I didn't do this, we would lose everything. I could endure one night if it meant fixing the damage that had already been done. That's what I kept telling myself, until I stopped thinking altogether. I left the hotel at 2 a.m. The city was quiet. Too quiet. I felt disgusting, used, like something inside me had been broken beyond repair. I sat in my car for almost 20 minutes, staring at my own reflection in the rearview mirror. Who was I? What had I just done? I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. Because the worst part? It worked. Ryan gets his job back. The next morning, Ryan walked into the kitchen, his phone pressed to his ear, his face lit with disbelief. "You're kidding," he said. "You're actually bringing me back?" I froze. My stomach turned over. David had kept his promise. Ryan was getting his job back, and all it took was one night of my life. I forced a smile as Ryan hung up the phone and grabbed me, spinning me in excitement. "I can't believe it," he said, kissing me deeply, passionately, like he hadn't in years. "Liv, we did it. We're gonna be okay." And I let him kiss me, let him celebrate, let him believe that this was a miracle, because if he ever found out the truth, it would destroy him. I told myself that it was over, that one night was all David wanted, that I could move on, be the perfect wife again, pretend nothing ever happened. But David wasn't done with me. He sent me a message saying, "You did well last night. I'd love to see you again." I replied to him, "It was a one-time thing." David said, "Are you sure?" Because I was thinking, maybe I could make things even better for Ryan. A promotion maybe, more money, a bigger office. My stomach clenched. David knew exactly how to play me, and the worst part? I let him. Because once you cross the line, once you tell yourself just this once, it's never just once. Ryan was different now, not in a bad way, in a way that made my guilt even worse. He was happier, lighter. The man who had spent months drowning in self-doubt was back to life. "Liv, I can't tell you how much this means to me," he said one evening, wrapping his arms around me while I was doing the dishes. "I don't know what I would have done without you, without your support." His voice was so full of love, of gratitude, that I almost broke down right there. Because if he ever found out what I did to get his job back, he would never look at me like this again. The affair was supposed to be over. After that first night at the hotel, I told myself I was done. I wouldn't answer David's texts. I wouldn't go back. But David wasn't the kind of man you ignored. He sent a text. "It was fun last time. Let's do it again. Tonight." I replied, "I can't. That wasn't the deal." David replied saying, "Deals change." I clenched my fists, anger and shame twisting in my stomach. I told him, Ryan got his job back. That's all I wanted. But he said, "And what if I make sure he keeps it? What if I make sure he gets promoted?" My blood turned to ice. David had power, more than I had realized. He wasn't just someone who could give Ryan his job back. He was someone who could take it away just as fast. And that terrified me. Lying became too easy. The first time I snuck out again, I told Ryan I was meeting Claire for dinner. The second time, I said I had a late-night errand to run. By the third time, I wasn't even coming up with excuses anymore. I just left. Every time I went to David, I hated myself more. But every time I told myself it was the last time, I went back anyway. And the worst part, I wasn't just doing it because I was scared of David. I was doing it because some part of me liked it. Ryan starts to sense something is wrong. One night, after I got back from another meeting with David, Ryan was still awake, sitting on the couch, waiting. "Where were you?" he asked, his voice too calm. I told you I went out with Claire. Claire called earlier, he said. She said she hasn't seen you in weeks. My breath caught in my throat. Shit. Oh, I fumbled, forcing a smile. I meant I ran into her at the store today. We made plans but had to cancel. Ryan studied me. Too long. Like he was seeing something he hadn't noticed before. Like he was putting the pieces together. Liv, is something going on? My heart was pounding so loudly I thought he could hear it. No, I said quickly, forcing a laugh. Of course not. Why would you ask that? He shook his head, exhaling. I don't know. You've been different. He reached for my hand, running his thumb over my fingers like he was trying to hold on to me. I love you, he said. You know that, right? I swallowed back the lump in my throat. I know, I whispered, and I hated myself. The moment I knew I was in too deep happened on a Friday night. David had texted me earlier, Westwood Hotel, room 918. And like the stupid, reckless woman I had become, I went. I told Ryan I was running a last-minute errand. I parked my car in the lot, went inside, and took the elevator up to David's room. But when I walked out of the elevator, I saw someone I recognized, Ryan's coworker, a man who had no reason to be at this hotel, a man who saw me the second I saw him. I froze, my breath catching. His eyes widened. Olivia? I forced a smile, my heart hammering in my chest. Hey, Greg. What are you doing here? He asked, frowning. Think. Oh, just meeting a friend for dinner downstairs. His brow furrowed. In the hotel? I laughed, trying to sound casual, normal, anything but guilty. Yeah, she's staying here for work, so we thought we'd just meet here. Greg nodded slowly. I could tell he didn't fully believe me. Cool, he said. I was just dropping off something for a client. Guess I'll see you around. Yeah, I said quickly. See you? I turned and walked away as fast as I could. And that's when I knew. I was going to get caught. It wasn't a matter of if. It was a matter of when. I was already in bed, pretending to be asleep. He sat on the edge of the bed and let out a long, slow sigh. Olivia? I didn't answer, because I couldn't. Because I knew, deep down, that he was starting to suspect. And it was only a matter of time before everything came crashing down. I woke up the next morning feeling like a woman on borrowed time. Ryan was still asleep beside me, his breathing slow, steady. But I wasn't fooled. Last night, when he came home late and sat on the edge of the bed, I could feel it. His suspicion growing. And Greg. Had he said something? Had he mentioned seeing me at the hotel? I had no way of knowing. All I knew was that my carefully built web of lies was starting to unravel. The next few days were different. Ryan was still loving, still warm, but something was off. He watched me more closely, asked more questions, and worst of all, he stopped trusting my answers. How was dinner with Claire? He asked one evening. I froze for half a second too long. It was good, I said quickly, forcing a smile. Why? No reason, he said, setting his phone down. Just wondering why she texted me yesterday saying she hasn't seen you in weeks. My stomach dropped. I had made a mistake, a big one. The night it all fell apart, I was in the kitchen, cleaning up after dinner, when Ryan walked in. His face was unreadable. His phone was in his hand. Olivia, he said, his voice too calm. Yeah? I turned to face him, my heart already racing. He took a slow, deep breath. I want you to tell me the truth, he said. And before you lie, just know. I already know everything. My blood turned to ice. What are you talking about? I forced out, my hands gripping the counter. Ryan clenched his jaw. Then he turned his phone around, and my entire world collapsed. The proof that destroyed everything, it was an email. From Gregorian to Ryan. The subject line, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you this. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. You met Greg at a hotel, didn't you? Ryan's voice was flat, cold. No, I whispered. It wasn't like that. Then why did he see you there? There was silence, because I had no good answer. Who were you meeting, Olivia? I shook my head. I don't... Who? He shouted, his voice booming through the kitchen. I flinched. I had never heard him yell like that before. I opened my mouth to lie again, to say something, anything, but my throat closed up, and that's when he knew. His shoulders dropped. His face went pale. Oh my God, his voice cracked. It was David, wasn't it? I sucked in a breath. His eyes darkened. Tell me it wasn't him. I couldn't say a word. There was silence. My silence was his answer. And that's when he broke. Ryan let out a bitter, broken laugh, running both hands through his hair. You did this, he said, his voice raw. You actually did this. Ryan, No. His voice snapped like a whip. Don't you dare try to explain this to me. His chest rose and fell too fast, his entire body tense with rage and pain. I did it for you, I whispered, my voice shaking. For us. His head snapped toward me. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Do you even hear yourself? Tears burned my eyes. Ryan, please. Did you think I'd be grateful? His voice broke on the last word. Did you think I'd thank you? I stepped forward. He stepped back, like he couldn't stand to be near me. I didn't know what else to do, I whispered. I was desperate. So you slept with him? The words stabbed like knives. I winced, because that was the first time either of us had said it out loud. And now it was real. No more secrets, no more lies. Just the wreckage I had created. Ryan stood there, his hands shaking, his breathing uneven. He looked like a man who had just lost everything. I gave you everything, Liv, he whispered, his voice breaking. Everything. Tears slid down my face. I know. And you threw it away. I wanted to beg, to fall at his feet and beg for forgiveness. But how do you ask someone to forgive the unforgivable? I watched as Ryan turned away from me, as he walked toward the door. Ryan, where are you going? He grabbed his keys, his jaw clenched. I don't know. Please, I choked out, don't leave. He paused at the door. His shoulders stiffened. I have to. And then, he was gone. The morning after he left, I woke up alone. The bed was cold. The air in the house was heavy, suffocating. Ryan's keys weren't on the hook. His shoes were gone. He had really left. And for the first time since this all started, I realized I might have just lost my husband forever. I called him. No answer. I texted. Ryan, please, just come home so we can talk. I know you hate me, but I need to see you. I made a mistake, but I love you. I swear I love you. No response. I sat on the couch, staring at my phone, my fingers trembling. How had I let it come to this? How had I destroyed the one person who had never once failed me? It wasn't until the next evening that I finally heard the front door open. I shot up from the couch, my heart hammering in my chest. Ryan stepped inside. He looked wrecked, his eyes bloodshot, his clothes wrinkled, his face unshaven. I had never seen him look this broken. You came back, I whispered. He didn't answer. He just walked past me, straight to the liquor cabinet, and poured himself a drink. My throat tightened. Ryan, please say something. He downed the whiskey in one gulp, then set the glass down with a soft but deliberate thud. I don't know what to say to you, Liv, he finally said, his voice hoarse, empty. I don't even know who you are anymore. I flinched. I'm still me, I whispered. No. He shook his head. You're not. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why did you? His voice cracked on the last word. I swallowed back tears. I thought I was saving us, I whispered. I thought if I just fixed things, we'd be okay. Fixed things? He laughed bitterly. You didn't fix anything, Olivia. You broke us. Tears streamed down my face. I know. No, you don't. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. You don't get to say that, Liv. You don't get to cry. You don't get to act like you're the victim. His words cut through me. Do you love him? he asked suddenly. My breath caught in my throat. No, I said quickly. Of course not. Then why did you go back? There was silence, because I didn't have an answer that wouldn't make things worse. Does love survive betrayal? Tell me the truth, Olivia, he said, his voice shaking. Do you honestly think we can come back from this? I stared at him. The man I built a life with, the man I vowed to love forever. And I saw the real question in his eyes. He wasn't asking if we could fix it. He was asking if he could ever look at me the same way again. I wiped my tears. I don't know, I admitted, but I'll do anything to try. Ryan let out a breath, then ran a hand through his hair. I don't know if I can, Liv. My heart cracked open. Please don't leave me, I whispered. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned and walked toward the door. My chest caved in. This was it. This was how our marriage ended. But then, he stopped. His hand rested on the doorknob. He stood there for what felt like an eternity. And then he finally said, I need time. Not goodbye, not I'm done. Just time. And for now, that was all I could hope for. I never thought I'd be the woman who destroys her own marriage. I never thought I'd be the one begging for advice on how to save something I shattered with my own hands. But here I am. Ryan hasn't left me yet. But he hasn't come back to me either. Since that night, he's been distant, quiet. He still sleeps in our house, but not in our bed. Some days he looks at me like he's trying to remember the woman he married. Other days he won't look at me at all, and I don't blame him. I don't know how to make him trust me again. I don't know if he ever can. And that's why I need you. I need help. Because if there's any way to fix this, I will do it. The hardest part about trying to fix this, it's not just about the betrayal. It's not just about the act. It's about what my decision did to Ryan. It's about the way he flinches when I touch him now. The way he stays silent when I say, I love you. The way he sleeps with his back to me, even though we used to fall asleep tangled together. I broke something that might never heal, and I don't know if love is enough to fix it. I've tried to give him space. I've tried apologizing again and again. I've tried to show him that I regret every single second of what I did, but nothing works. Because it's not about what I say, it's about what he feels. And right now, he feels like he lost the woman he thought he knew. So now, I'm asking you, what should I do? If you were Ryan, if you were me, how do I fix this? Is it even possible to save a marriage after a betrayal like this? I need honest answers. I will be reading every single comment and taking your advice to heart, because I am not ready to give up on my marriage. I still love my husband. I just don't know if I can ever make him love me again. So please, what should I do? I'll be in the comments waiting for your thoughts. And please, don't forget to hit the like button and share my story with at least one friend. It will enable YouTube to push it to reach the next possible person out there about making the same mistake I made, so please, kindly hit the like button and subscribe to leave your unbiased comments for me.